Had to start this video off with that video. I just think that's a pretty cool video, the forestry mulcher in action. So this is going to be part 2 of owning and operating costs of running a machine. Part 1 you can find on my YouTube channel. It's called Owner-Operator Costs of Forestry Mulching. Owner Costs Explained. This video is going to be specifically about the operator costs of how to figure out those for your equipment. This is an Excel spreadsheet that I've made and it's kind of useful. It's got the you just fill in the cells and it kind of does some calculations for you, so it makes it a little bit easier. But this Excel sheet is also good for no matter what type of machinery you're going to buy. You can actually do some side-by-side comparisons if you fill in multiple columns. So we'll just kind of go over this top part real quick. It's just some data that you'll need because the numbers will be used later in the calculations. And I just want to preface this whole thing by saying, as I fill in numbers here, that I'm totally just swagging these numbers. I'm just pulling them kind of generally out of thin air. These are not numbers that correspond to my business. And these are not numbers that you should necessarily just use. The numbers that you use for your cost worksheet should be based on some research or some intelligent guesses or estimates based on your situation. Okay, so the bottom line of this worksheet is to come up with an hourly owning and operating cost estimate. So that's the purpose of this worksheet. It's going to give you a bottom line cost per hour to operate this particular machine that we're going to figure out. A couple numbers that you will need is the estimated ownership period. I just picked 3 years. Estimated usage in hours per year. We're just going to use 500 hours per year for this worksheet, just to have some round numbers. And then the ownership usage for total hours, it's basically just the number of years times your estimated annual usage to come up with this number. So basically 3 times 500 is 1,500. And we're going to use these numbers later in the worksheet. Okay, so now again, in the first video I did, we talked about the owning costs. And basically owning costs are the costs that the piece of equipment is going to cost you regardless of how many hours you use it per year. So those are going to be things called like your insurance costs or your bank loan that you might have on the equipment, things like that. And then the operating costs are going to be things that are going to be directly related to the number of hours you use the piece of equipment. So basically owning costs, or in accounting terms, are more or less your fixed cost, and your operating costs are going to be your variable costs. Okay, so we'll just kind of slide through this first part of owning costs. Since I already covered it in the first video, you can go back and check out how we arrived at some of these numbers. But just for this, just to go over it real quickly, owning costs include delivery price, and then it's minus the residual value or a trade-in value, and then you come up with a net value to be recovered through work. Okay, and that'll come up with a cost per hours, and it'll look like this. But anyway, we're just going to slide through this. You can watch the first video. Another thing that includes is your interest costs on any loans that you might have on the equipment, your insurance cost for the machinery, any business property taxes related to the piece of equipment. And at any time, if you want to go back and look either at the first video, or if you want to look at some of the details of this video, you can just pause the video and kind of check out the details. But anyway, for this first top portion of owner cost that we did in the first video, we came up with a total hourly owning cost of this number. And again, these numbers are just for example. They're not actual numbers. So now we'll talk about the operating costs. Again, operating costs are going to be based on your actual numbers of units of usage per year. So I'm just going to kind of fill in some of this as we go along. So the first operating cost we're going to talk about is fuel. And your fuel costs are basically the unit price, which is the cost per gallon of fuel, times your consumption. And the consumption is going to be based specifically on your machine. Okay, so the numbers I'm going to use are, I'm going to use $2.69 a gallon for diesel. And again, use whatever numbers that are in your area. And consumptions in gallons per hour. My machine uses 5 gallons per hour. So as you can see, this automatically filled in a number of $13.45 an hour in fuel. Okay, so fuel is cost per gallon times your consumption per hour that you use on your machine. Next thing is planned maintenance. Those are things like your normal operator maintenance, lube oils, filters, grease, and any labor costs involved with that. So as you can see here, the spreadsheet automatically put in 500 hours per year of estimated usage. And you could estimate the usage if you've never operated this machine before. What I do is after each, I've been in business now for going on 4 years. So after each year, I'll go back to my actual spreadsheet and I'll put in actual numbers that I've used. For instance, if I did 600 hours, 631 hours of business last year, I'll use 631 hours. I'll go through my QuickBooks and add up, go back and capture all of these planned maintenance type of materials that I used, and I'll put in the actual total cost for that. Okay, so but for this spreadsheet, we're just going to kind of estimate some numbers just for the speed of it. So if you watch over here, the spreadsheet will just kind of add that up. So again, planned maintenance, we're going to just estimate that's going to cost $2,000 a year. We use a machine 500 hours. It comes up with $4 per hour. Okay, next item in operator costs, specifically for like a Bobcat T770. So your tracks and tire replacement. Replacement cost for that divided by the life in hours for those things. Now I can tell you in actuality that a set of tracks for a Bobcat T770 costs $2,300 for a set of tracks. It's been my experience that Working in the forest, the soft dirt environment, I get at least 2,500 hours out of a set of tracks. So again, if you have tires or whatever other kind of thing you're using on your thing, on your piece of equipment, pick numbers that are going to be specific to you. You can call up a dealer and ask what does a set of tires cost or what does a set of tracks cost. And again, estimating hours of a life cycle of that tire or track. In my experience, for my exact type of business, is about 2,500 hours on a set of tracks. So that comes up with an hourly cost of 92 cents. Undercarriage, I'm not really going to go into that, but here is a kind of formula to use if you want to deal with the kind of undercarriage, and those are your roller wheels and things like that. I've had my machine for, again, my first machine I had for 3 years, and I never had any issues with this, so I don't use this part. So we'll just go down to repair costs per hour. And repair costs are obviously things that are going to break on your machine. If you break hydraulic fittings, if you break another item on your machine and you need welding, things like that. It's things that break. Again, this spreadsheet automatically put in the number from the top that we had. This is 500 hours annual usage. We're just going to use a number over here. We're just going to make one up of $3,000 a year. Your actual repair costs may be less or maybe more. This is just for example purposes. And then it automatically puts it over here, $6 per hour that we're going to have to recover. The last item on operator costs are special wear items. To figure those out, it's the cost of the item divided by the life in hours of the item. So on my spreadsheet, I have it down here at the bottom. And what I put here is the carbide cutter teeth. Okay, but it could be anything. Teeth on your bucket. Just special wear items. So for me, I know I go through my carbide cutter teeth, and I know I'm going to have to put those on. So I know I have a set of 30 teeth on mine. One replacement tooth, as I talked about in previous videos, is $93 per tooth. Let me pull out my calculator real quick. So it cost me $93 per tooth times 30 teeth. It's $2,790 for a set of 30 teeth. So I'm just going to put in $2,790. A set of teeth lasts me 300 hours. Okay, so it comes up with a life cycle cost of $9.30 per hour for my cutter teeth. So we'll go back up here. Special wear items. This spreadsheet automatically put it in there. But if you had multiple items in here on your list, it would just total them all up and add it onto your spreadsheet. So, just to recap this very quickly, so we're talking about the operator costs. So operator costs relating to a machine includes fuel, the planned maintenance, which is like your daily 10-hour lubes or whatever, changing your filters, your tracks or tires, whatever you have, your undercarriage, which are your roller wheels and whatnot, then any repair costs, and these can either be estimated if you're new to this, if you're new to your machine, or like I said, I go back and capture my costs from previous years and use actual numbers. And then special wear items, anything that you're going to go through and wear out on your machine or go through it often. Okay, so here what this gives us then is a total operating cost. In this particular example, it's $33.67 an hour. Okay, then this next thing is machine owning plus operating costs. So this added up the operating costs plus the owner costs, which is the total hourly owner's cost, $57.07. So it added up that number and the operating costs to come up with a total machine owning plus operating costs per hour. Now, if you have a operator that you pay, including any other costs associated with him, fringe benefits, health insurance, unemployment compensation, those kind of things, you could add it in there. We'll just write $20 an hour. That's his compensation. So then this spreadsheet will add up total operator costs, machine owning plus operating costs, and it'll add the hourly wage onto that. So it's adding 90.74 plus a 20, and it's come up with a total owning and operating cost of $110.74. Okay, that's basically it in a nutshell to figure out your owning and operating costs. Now, once you have this number, there's two more things basically you want to do. This owning and operating cost is specifically for this machine, and it only includes the costs of this machine. Okay. What you want to do as a business is add your profit margin onto this, which it's normally a percent. If you want to make 10% profit, 20% profit, 50% profit, 100% profit, whatever, you multiply that percentage you want onto this total owning and operating costs. And that will give you the price you need to be charging per hour for a customer, to a customer. So let's just say 110.74. We'll just do the quick math on this and say you want to have, just going to make up a number. So 110.74, and I'm going to multiply it by 30%. So you want 30% profit margin. So I'm going to multiply that 110 by 0.3, and that gives me $33.20. So I would add that profit margin of $33.22 onto the 110.74 to come up with a total number of 143.96. So just say 145. So the cost to run this machine is 110.74 plus your 30% profit margin comes up to a number of, say, 143 or 145 per hour. And that would be a number that you would charge. That would be a target number that you would have to compare to your local area to see if people are, number one, willing to pay $145 an hour for you to do the work. Or if you have competitors in the area, you know, you gotta do what you have to do to get your price to a price where you're competitive. Okay, so that's the first thing. Add on your profit margin to this number. The second thing you would want to know as a business owner is what would be my break-even point? And a break-even point is how much business do I have to do, say per month or per year. I normally do it per month. I want to know what revenue I have to generate per month to pay for all of my costs. That's a separate video, and that's not part of the owner operated costs, but just be aware that figuring out your break-even point is another aspect of determining your costs and the revenues you'll have to generate to be a sustainable business. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to wheel through this slowly again. Again, this video is on operating costs. So again, you have your fuel, planned maintenance, your tracks and tires, your undercarriage, repair costs, and special wear items. Okay, and come down to a bottom total owning and operating costs. This is what you're looking for. And that's about it. This video, I hope, was a lot faster than the first video. I hope it explains some things to you if you haven't done these things before. But this isn't just used in forestry mulching. You could use it for any type of equipment that you might have for your business, whether it's lawnmowers, excavators, farm tractors, or whatever. But here's my business. It's Clevinger Forest Services. I'm located in Clarksville, Tennessee. It's my office and cell phone numbers. I've got a website that has some good handy-dandy information, and it's a cool website. My YouTube, I've got a YouTube also, and you can search it under Clevinger Forest Services. But here's the actual URL for it, if you can understand all that jibber jabber. And also have a business Facebook, which is much easier to find under Clevinger Forest Services if you have Facebook. And on the Facebook, it has a link to my YouTube, so you can get to my YouTube channel and check out the other videos that I have. And that's it for now. I hope that you guys maybe learned something. I hope this information was useful to you. If you have any questions, just hit me up at the bottom. Ask me a question. If you have any input for other people that are learning, please feel free to add in any comments that might be useful to other people. And if you enjoyed this video, if you liked it, please give it a like, and subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate it. And thanks, and we'll talk to you later.